Hello, everyone. I'm Lesley. I'm the co-founder and registered midwife at My Expert Midwife. This is our third antenatal class in a series of 8. And today I'm joined with another of our midwives at My Expert Midwife, Karen. Hello,
Hello.
Karen. So the course itself will span 8 weeks or 8 videos, and it'll be available on this YouTube channel. And also on our IGTV channel. So do subscribe and follow both if you want to have access to all these fascinating and informative videos that we'll be uploading very, very shortly. So the course itself is going to take you through growing a baby, giving birth, and caring for your new baby. Today's topic is birth plans. So we'll be looking at why birth plans are important, how you complete them, and most importantly, when you would use them. So, Karen, I think it's probably a good place to start then, what they actually are, because I think there's lots of misinformation about them. They're almost seen as this tick box that you do at 36 weeks, and so much more important than that. So, for me, your birth plan is the tool that you use to educate yourself and your birth partner about everything to do with birth that may affect you. So as an example, your birth plan, you would probably want to put who your birth partner is and what their name is, how they would want to be addressed. You would also want to put in your birth plan what you would want your environment to be like. So do you want the lights dimmed? Do you want your hospital room, if you're in hospital, to have things moved to the side, to have the bed out the way? Your birth plan is that way of communicating with the people that are going to look after you in labour, so that when you do go in labour, you don't have to go through quite a long process of explaining what you want and why you want it.
I think that's so important, just to be able to communicate that, because you're going to go into hospital or you might have a home birth, but whoever comes to you is most likely to be somebody that you perhaps haven't met before or who doesn't know you really very well. So it's about getting across who you are and who your partner is and what you want your birth to be like and how you'd like things to go. And that doesn't matter if you want to birth in a pool at home or if you want to plan to have an elective cesarean section in the hospital. You need to find the things, make the choices that are really important to you to make that birth experience, the best day of your life, basically, which is what it should be.
So your birth plan really explores everything around birth. So, within your birth plan, you would perhaps have things like what you want to happen if you eventually maybe have to have a cesarean section, or what you would like to happen with an assisted birth or episiotomy. So it's all those different topics that you would want to explore in pregnancy. And this is the importance of antenatal classes. And we go on about this all the time, don't we, Karen? The importance of being educated about your birth, because it's so personal to you and your partner. It's very difficult to have a one-size-fits-all. And, a birth plan, the templates are very much a one-size-fits-all. And I think you can be in danger of thinking that it's a case of, as an example, episiotomy. Well, no, I don't want one. And I don't know anyone really that would want one. That topic is there so that you can actually explore with your midwife, or maybe with an independent midwife that you sit down with to go through the birth plan, or your antenatal teacher. That topic is where you say, right, what is an episiotomy? When might I have an episiotomy? When might it be offered or even advised? And what does it involve? And it's there so that you can say things like, if you need to do an episiotomy, if there is time, I would like you to explain X, Y, and Z. It's that. And I think sometimes when we talk about birth plans, we make out that they're very prescriptive, and it's a case of, well, we might want to do this, but if we know you don't want one, we don't need to do it. And birth, it's so unpredictable that it's almost impossible to be able to predict what exactly you'll need to discuss or may not happen. So that birth plan is there as a way of giving you a template of all the things that you need to explore so that you understand them fully. We do see it, and certainly I'd seen it in quite a lot of birth plans. It was, I do not want a forceps, or I do not want an episiotomy. And we absolutely understand that, because it's not something that you would choose. But it just means that if you've not explored that in your antenatal classes, when you come in labour, your midwife's either faced with thinking, right, I probably need to explore this now in early labour, because we want to avoid a situation where we have to discuss this at the point that we need to consider doing this, the assisted delivery or the episiotomy, in which case that's going to massively increase worry, concern, stress. So do we discuss it early in labour, when you first arrived into the hospital? Your midwife's then thinking, but if I do that, I'm at risk of then increasing adrenaline levels in labour, which are not ideal. It tends to slow things down. So there is that dilemma that your midwife would have. Do I discuss or don't I? Whereas if you use the tool, the birth plan tool, as a way of researching and getting all that information, when you come in, your birth plan may say assisted birth. I would like to have this fully explained to me. And then you would use the brain acronym. You would use the brain acronym. So it's that tool that we would encourage you to use to be able to draw out that information about why something's important, why this needs to be done, what the benefits of it. And you would just use that tool, and we talk about that in a lot of our other classes, so we'll not go into that in great detail today, but it's that way of exploring what that birth plan's actually going to do, rather than coming in labour with a very prescriptive birth plan that your midwife's thinking, actually, at some point, we're going to need to unpick this. So what do you think about that, Karen? Because you may have a sort of different view of that.
I think it really is, can be summed up in a sentence of, if you don't know your options, you don't have any options. So that's why you need to educate yourself about what the options that might crop up, what they all are, and when they might occur. Regarding the template for your birth, this will just set out a complete plan of how you want things to go. And if things don't go quite down that pathway that you maybe idealistically want them to be, you can still have lots of things from that template that you've learnt about, that you know about, and that you want to incorporate in your birth. So telling the your care providers about yourself, say if you've got any hopes for anything that you really, really want, saying that what makes you frightened as a person, or what you really don't want to happen. If loud voices are frightening, or if you don't like quiet voices, tell that person in your birth plan exactly what you like and what you don't like, so they can respond to you in a way that is appropriate for you, and you can build up that communication so much better, because your midwife will read that birth plan and then know you a little bit more as a person, without having to hit the ground running, if you see what I mean. So tell them about yourself, tell them what you hope for your birth, and how you incorporate your partner into that as well. Once you tell your partner what you want, when you're in the throes of labour, they can be your advocate. So let them in on the birth plan, do it together, or whoever's going to be your birth partner. If you've got a doula or something, then involve them too. And then you want to talk about, Lesley touched on it a little bit before, so you want to talk about the environment that you want for labour. It's all very well being at home, you'll be relaxed, it'll all be really lovely, but you maybe want to think about creating that same environment within the hospital. So talk a little bit about that during your birth plan. Say I would like the lights dim, or maybe you would like the lights bright. Talk about all of those things that you want. Talk about the things you want to use. So if you would like the bed pushing aside, like Lesley says, rearranging your room. If you want a birth ball or There's all sorts of different equipment like birth stools, or you might want to use the water pool and do a little bit more research into what water can do for you in labour. Or you might want to go straight for an epidural without trying anything else. I mean, we've got an excellent video on all your pain relief options, which we have done, and that's all on YouTube as well. And then you want to think a little bit about your birth too. So you want to think about, how do you want to birth? Do you want to be upright? Do you want to be squatting? Do you want to use the bed as a tool to kneel upon? And do you want to have maybe a warm compress? You know, we're going to do a video on warm compresses as well, so you can learn all about those. I mean, that might just totally not be for you once you've read about it, but if you don't inform yourself about these things, then you can't put them in your birth plan, because you won't even know what they are. You want to think a little bit about, do you want skin to skin? What if you are in theatre and you're having a cesarean? You know, do you want your partner to have skin to skin instead? You know, all these little things that you put into your birth plan, you know, can be followed by your midwife and be made sure that you get, you know, those little things that mean such a lot during your birth incorporated into the experience that you do have.
Another example would be talking about pain relief. It may be that you don't want anyone to offer you any form of pain relief. It may be that you feel that even by mentioning that word or offering you some pain relief might in some way make you feel as if you're not coping, even though you do feel that you are. And that's a great tool to be able to put down in the pain relief box. Please do not offer me any pain relief, or please do not use the word pain. It's got very negative connotations and we do try and avoid it. But that's another way of being able to just convey that way that you may feel about something, and how you want that communicated to you. And it's very powerful as well. It is something the midwives will read it. And it's probably the other reason that we would ask you not to just have one copy, have quite a few. You're a great believer in about 5, if I seem to recall.
Yeah, just have 5 birth plans. You'll have one in your notes, and that can go and be filed into your notes for the future. But, you know, you can have one for you, one for your partner, one for another midwife that might change shifts in between. Make sure that everybody that cares for you sees your birth plan and sees what's important to you. You know, when you're in the hospital, which most women do have their babies in a hospital environment, you know, people coming in and out of your room or in and out of your care, you don't just think that the last person that you told will have told them everything about you. Give another copy of your birth plan out. Make sure they know what your wishes are. If they don't know, equally they can't respond in the best way possible, really, for you. So yeah, give it out to everybody.
You'll find as well, when you have your antenatal appointments with your midwife, you'll have at different weeks in your pregnancy, you'll have different topics that they'll want to discuss with you. And the birth plan appointment, when you're going to discuss birth plans, tends to be around 36 weeks. Now, that's fine as the time to actually take your birth plan into your midwife completed, to say, I've done all the research on it, and this is what I'd like for my birth plan. Run through it with your midwife, because she or he may have some additional insights that you might find really helpful and may make you want to maybe re-explore it again. But 36 weeks is probably too late. If you've not looked at anything within your birth plan, it's probably just too late to really give you time to fully explore it. You'll be trying to cram in
so much information.
That's it. And your antenatal classes will pretty much give you all the information that you need to be able to make that birth plan and make those choices antenatally. But equally, there's some brilliant support groups, Facebook support groups. I mean, there's a VBAC support group, UK one, VBAC support.
That's vaginal birth after cesarean.
Sorry, yes. You know, and they're great sources of information to move you to other resources. But equally, there's some websites and some other Facebook groups that aren't as reliable, and we won't be able to give an exhaustive list. So certainly reputable antenatal class providers, independent midwives, doulas, they'll all be able to offer appointments where you can talk through these options and educate and be educated.
And signpost you to the credible resources that are reliable, that you know that you can trust.
That's it. And the birth plan itself, it's a fairly quick thing to fill in. Time is actually getting the information to help you decide what it is that you want, because this is no one else's birth. It's your birth, and there's only really you can make those decisions. And you know, when you're given all the information to help you make that decision becomes you that owns it. And when we look at how women respond to their labour and their birth, it's the women that actually have the control and the choice in their birth that have the least amount of negative feelings about their birth. So that's a really important thing, to do that research, but to give yourself plenty of time. You know, starting from about 20 weeks, I would say, I mean, you would maybe start your antenatal classes at 28 weeks if you were doing maybe a block of 6 weeks, but there's nothing to stop you joining, you know, support groups and, you know, reaching out to your midwife and they will have fantastic resources for other groups, and they'll know the local antenatal classes. They'll know the really reputable ones as well. So do speak to your midwife about that as well. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, Karen?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about what you might put in your birth plan and what we've got coming up. So already on our YouTube channel, we have videos about water birth, about what induction of labour entails, about delayed cord clamping and how it's important for your baby. And we've also got a little, a smaller video on how to make a birth plan and about adapting your hospital room as well as one on perineal massage. We want to add to this bank and make it like a library for you, so you can pick and choose which ones that you want to you know, listen to and what's important to you, and which ones you think you can incorporate into your birth plan, you know. So we want you to basically let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to talk about and explore in a little bit more depth. So please do contact us. You can contact us on Instagram and leave us a message on there, or contact us directly by sending us an email. What we do have planned at the moment is we're going to talk a little bit about the first stage of labour, on the latent phase. We want to talk a bit about choice with induction of labour. We want to talk about monitoring your baby in labour and what continuous monitoring means and what intermittent monitoring means, so you can understand which one to choose and which one is best for you. We want to talk about hypnobirthing and breathing techniques. So all of these things will be coming up. We'll talk about placentas, doulas, we'll talk about everything. But we also want you to tell us what you actually want us to put in there as well.
So please do, you know, subscribe to the channel, comment below, just give us a list of all the topics that you'd like us to do videos on, and we will absolutely get them done and uploaded. So to round all that up about birth plans, it's about making your wishes clear. Make it relate as well to the birth that you may be having. So if you're having an induction, you can make that very relatable to the induction. The same with an elective cesarean section, or if you're planning to have a vaginal birth after section. So certainly make it very personalised to you. Start your research as early as you can, and book onto your antenatal classes. Or you could actually have a one-to-one appointment with an independent midwife where they will actually go through everything and help you make that birth plan. Join Facebook support groups or other networks. Speak to your midwife about resources and information that she thinks are reputable and reliable. We've got loads more videos over on our IGTV channel, so do follow us on there as well. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we've covered loads. We've looked at birth plans and why they're essential, how to complete them, and when you would use them. There'll be loads more videos like this on our YouTube channel, so please do subscribe. And don't worry if you've missed something. We have weekly Q&A lives over on our Instagram channel as well that you'll be able to actually just live question us. So do join us over there. There's also loads and loads of blogs over on our website, myexpertmidwife.com. Lots of information there. You'll find the birth plan template there too. Next week, we're going to be looking at early labour. So signs that you may be in labour, the hormones that are at work, coping at home, and when to call the hospital. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we shall see you next week.